Hello, how are you guys doing? This is Rob of Rule of 2 Review. Welcome back to the channel, and today let's talk about that newly announced Nindies Direct. So yeah, as crazy as it is, earlier today Nintendo announced on Twitter that another Nindies Direct will be happening. It's going to be happening next week. They actually gave us 5 days notice, which is actually kind of rare for the last couple of years worth of Nintendo Directs. Usually Nintendo likes to announce them really close to the actual date that they're going to air, but for whatever reason, they announced that next Tuesday, August 28th at 9 a.m. Pacific time, which is also my time, the Nindies Direct is going to air. Now, this is notable for a few reasons. I think the biggest reason we all take note of this is because just a few days ago, Nintendo had this weird thing where they, out of nowhere, basically had a Nindies Direct kind of specifically in the UK. And anyone who follows me on Twitter kind of saw the sort of silly situation. Like, I woke up, I saw Nintendo Life posted a thing that like, hey, there's rumors that there's going to be a Nindies Direct like later today. And by the time I opened the article, it was like, basically there was an update to the article saying, yes, it is going to happen later today. And I was like, holy crap, another Nindies Direct like today. This is insane. And it turned out that by the time I had even woke up on my side of the earth and read this, it was actually already after it had aired. And part of the weirdness is because it was specifically for the UK, it wasn't available anywhere to watch for most people. I think some people did find it live at like 4 o'clock in the morning or whatever, but most people couldn't even find it, and it wasn't making any news or headlines, so I was just surprised to learn that I had missed the Nindies Direct and that there was no news and no one was talking about it. And so that whole situation was weird. It wasn't bad, but it was certainly very weird. And it was like, well, why didn't you do anything that really covers Nindies for like the whole world? Why was there such a Europe-focused one? And so then, of course, today's announcement comes, and it's like, oh, well, now they're doing one that's more specific to North America, I guess? And why does this one get the 5-day advance notice, whereas the one for Europe got like 2 hours notice and just all of a sudden happened, and it was like, what a weird situation. And so that's very strange. The other reason it's pretty notable is because, as I discussed recently, there was the basically Smash Brothers Direct at E3. Then a couple of weeks ago, there was a Smash Brothers only Direct that just aired randomly. And through that, there was conversations about, well, what about a Nintendo Direct that covers other games? What about things that aren't Smash Brothers? And a lot of my conversation about that was, honestly, I felt that another Nintendo Direct would clearly be happening very, very soon, because while I liked the Nintendo Direct that was focused on Smash Brothers, I acknowledge that, like, yeah, you gave us 30 minutes of Smash at E3, and then a few weeks later, another 30 minutes of Smash, but what about other stuff? And so it turns out that, yeah, there was another Nintendo Direct coming. However, it's focused pretty much entirely on indie games. And so there's a lot of conversation about this, a lot of feelings and things going around. I have quite a few feelings on this. Overall, I think it's cool, I guess. I mean, I'm certainly excited about this. I'd be hard-pressed to say that I wouldn't have preferred if this was just a regular Nintendo Direct featuring many different kinds of games, not just indie games, because as you guys know, while I have nothing against indie games, I don't really play too many of them. So this isn't really like jumping out at me as the most exciting thing and something I can't wait for. But there is one notable thing to take note of, and even in the tweet that you guys saw earlier, Nintendo's tweet about this does state that the Nindies Showcase video presentation will highlight multiple unannounced indie games coming to the Nintendo Switch. So of course, the key phrasing there is unannounced, basically confirming, hey, not only will you probably learn about a couple of indie titles we're already aware of, we're going to have a couple of surprises. We're going to reveal some new games that are obviously still going to be indie games, but hey, we're going to get new games and new announcements. And it's cool because typically, if you think about it, really we don't usually know ahead of time when something Nintendo is giving us is going to have new games and new announcements. Usually it's just, here's a Nintendo Direct and just watch the Nintendo Direct, and if we're lucky, we get a surprise announcement of a game or two. Usually that happens, but we never really like know it concretely before it happens. But here Nintendo is saying, hey, don't worry, we are promising you now, 5 days ahead of time, that there will be new games you've never heard of. So hey, this is going to be pretty cool, and I think a lot of people will end up feeling really great about this. We have to remember, even myself, who again is not a big indie fan, and I do think the whole Nindies sort of thing that Nintendo does is brilliant and has created a lot of great games and great partnerships. I will remind myself, and a lot of you guys, that last year they did that big Nindies showcase near the end of the year. I want to say that was closer to the end of the year, like in November or so, but I can't remember off the top of my head. But I do remember it was a pretty big presentation that gave us like 16 new games, like almost entirely new games. In fact, that is where the one game I'm hoping to hear about next week was even unveiled, and that was Travis Strikes Again, No More Heroes. So last year it turned out to be really great. It showed us a lot of great stuff that had people crazy excited. Travis Strikes Again was shown. And so with this one coming, I want to hope that we get something kind of to that same quality and to that same length, because I think the one last year was about 20 to 30 minutes. And if they do another 20 or 30 minute Nindies Direct this year, next week, I think that could be really great and show us a lot of great games. And honestly, even I'm starting to learn that some of the best indie games sometimes really do rival the best AAA games, or the best big budget games, I should say. And so that's exciting. And then the other thing that's exciting to me is honestly the game that I just mentioned to you guys. Travis Strikes Again, No More Heroes. Where is this freaking game, Nintendo? What is going on with this, man? Like, this game was supposed to be a 2018 game, and we're slowly closing in at the end of the year. We're getting to the end of summer here, and like, the game wasn't touched on at all at E3, which really has me nervous. And so I'm just hoping that this game does stick to 2018 and it doesn't become another victim of the 2019 delay scenario, because a lot of games for Nintendo have been delayed to 2019, and a lot of games across the board are coming out in 2019. You know, Fire Emblem slipped to 2019, Yoshi slipped to 2019. I'm really worried that Travis Strikes Again will do the same thing. And so next week would be a great time for them to confirm, hey, yeah, No More Heroes, it's coming out this year, don't worry. Now, the only other indie game that we actually know about that I am really excited to see, hopefully next week, is this game called The Messenger, which I'm sure a lot of you guys are familiar with. And to be fair, I believe that game actually comes out on the 30th, so it's probably only coming out like a couple of days after this Nintendo Direct airs, so that might be a reason for them not to feature it. And even if they did, it's like, honestly, excitement is sort of at like peak levels now just because the game is so close. But I just bring it up because it's the only other indie game that we know about that actually has my attention. As somebody who isn't usually paying attention to indie games or playing many of them, you know, Dead Cells has obviously reignited the indie passion in me, because I cannot freaking stop playing that game. It is so good. Everybody buy that game. It is so amazing. And so it's got, you know, kind of renewed my interest a little bit in what's going on, which does help with this Nindies Direct happening. So I want No More Heroes information. I want information about The Messenger. And I'm going to predict, man, we're going to see some really cool exclusive partnerships, you know? They're telling us here that we are going to get unannounced games, so that's great. But of course, many or all of those could turn out to be multi-platform games, but how cool would it be if one or some of the games, especially if they're like bigger games, what if they're like exclusive to the Switch? What if Nintendo has a couple of great indie exclusive partnerships going? I think that that's almost a lock. There's been many cases of that already happening in the Switch era, and I feel like if Nintendo is making a Nindies Direct showcase and they're already proud of the fact that they've got unannounced games to show, I feel like that's because they are going to be giving us a couple of exclusive games. So hey, indie or not, more exclusive content for the Switch is always a good thing. And so, I guess at the end of the day, really the last thing that any of us might really be taking away from this is, what does this mean for another Nintendo Direct? What does this mean for a regular Direct that's not focused just on Smash Brothers or just on indie games? Are we still going to be getting something like that soon? And I'm going to say, even though we've had a lot of Directs kind of squished together here the last couple of weeks, yeah, I still think we're going to get another Nintendo Direct. I just refuse to believe that Nintendo is going to completely turn the other way and ignore all the people who are wondering about other stuff, even stuff for next year, and that they wouldn't still be planning something. They've got to keep the hype train going, even if they don't have a lot of stuff for 2018, which, let's be honest, that's kind of where we've gotten to with the Switch this year. I've discussed it several times. Many people have brought this up. Many people have thought about this, because people are on, honestly, two different sides with this. I'm of the mind that 2018 has been slow for the Switch. You know, mostly from Nintendo's first-party output. There has been some pretty solid indie and third-party support this year for sure. I've bought a couple of titles that I very much enjoy. I mean, come on, Octopath is right here. Like, that's amazing. So there has been some games, but clearly the output of games across the board has not been as strong. Yes, we're still getting Diablo. We know we're getting Let's Go Pokemon and we're getting Smash Brothers and stuff still, Mario Party, you know, if you're interested in that. There are a couple of games. Some of these indie games probably will be 2018, but it is a slow year. However, I don't think that Nintendo, as we get nearer the end of the year, I don't think that they need to be afraid of starting to pump 2019. So in October or even September, I still think next month is a possibility. In September, October, they could give us another full Nintendo Direct, 30 to 40 minutes, detailing Nintendo Switch games, giving us some surprises, reveals, confirmations of dates, and talking about stuff that's coming out in early 2019. I think the first quarter of 2019 for the Switch might secretly be like a great time for Nintendo to release some of their biggest games, and I've discussed this before. Bayonetta, a surprise Animal Crossing, plenty of other things. Yoshi, I think they might have confirmed Yoshi for holiday, but maybe not. Either way, those are the kinds of games I think would make a great release to just kind of put those out in the first couple of months of 2019. And I don't think it's too early to start promoting those games in September or October this year. So that's kind of what I'm getting at here. Yes, we're getting another Direct. It's not Smash. It's only indie games, but I still think Nintendo's willing to acknowledge other games after Smash Brothers, after 2018 are going to matter. So why wouldn't they detail those in another Nintendo Direct sometime kind of soon? I think that it's probably safe for a lot of us to have a little bit of hope that Nintendo is going to do it. Let's not put all of our money on it because, of course, Nintendo's hard to predict. Sometimes Nintendo Directs are hard to predict. So if we're wrong, if I'm wrong here, then I don't want anyone getting so excited for a Nintendo Direct soon. And maybe Nintendo is going to go silent for a while until we get through the launch of Super Smash Bros. That is a possibility. But I'll remind you guys at the end of this video here, I don't believe that. I think Nintendo's got something else planned. I think that 2018 is going to have so many incredible games for the Switch. We already know PS4 and Xbox One are stacked next year, and PC. I think Switch is going to be the same, and so before 2018 ends, I think Nintendo's going to start to push some of those biggest games. And that might even, in a shocker, might be the time that they reveal the first footage of something as huge as Metroid Prime 4. Maybe they reveal that in a Nintendo Direct before the end of the year, and then make E3 next year the big blowout for the game. I mean, hey, anything's possible, man. Nintendo, they're a bunch of weirdos over there. They do whatever they want, man, and they don't like being able to be predicted, so they could shock us in a million different ways. I guess we'll just kind of have to see how it turns out. So that's kind of what's going on. That's what I feel about this Nindies Direct thing. It should be very interesting. I unfortunately won't get to watch it live, and I usually don't when this stuff happens. It's going to be pretty much right when I'm going to be starting work, getting to work. But, you know, I'll find out what happens. I'll watch it later. I'll catch the games. Hopefully we get some of that No More Heroes action next week. And I guess we'll see what else Nintendo has in store for us. So what do you guys think? Are you excited about the Nindies Direct? Are you not so excited? Are you mad that it's not a regular Direct? Or are you completely happy with it because unannounced games are always exciting? Whatever you feel, I want you to talk about it. All opinions are always welcome here. And that's it. So thanks as always for tuning in, guys. This is Rob of Ro2R, and I'll catch you next time on another video.